searching for your name, using a search engine on the internet. Wow, all of these articles coming up. You must have a lot of people asking you from all parts of the globe about this multiple intelligences theory. What really is your reaction to this theory that you're promoting? And are there a lot of schools in different countries now that are trying to apply this, changing their curricula and the way they teach their students?
Well, I don't have to be like John Kerry here. I can just say yes. Now, it's quite amazing. I'm a scholar, I'm a psychologist, and this is really a theory of how the mind is organized. It's not particularly an educational theory, but all over the world people have said, if it's true that we have these different intelligences, we either can ignore that and try to make everybody the same, or we can really build our education around these differences, including, I might add to what Joy said, teaching the same thing in lots of different ways.
Right.
So if I were trying to teach biology...
Okay, give us an example. Give it a concrete example for those who may be watching us and don't know what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, take the theory of evolution, which is very, very important in biology. You can teach that through stories. You can teach it through film. You can teach it through computers where you actually simulate evolution. You can do it through graphs, through charts. You can act it out. You can. When I went to school, we used to breed fruit flies because fruit flies, you can see the generations and how the traits change over generations. I think anybody who wanted to understand evolution would understand it better if all those different entry points were used. Nonetheless, if you were my tutee and I knew that you were very spatial, I probably wouldn't spend a lot of time having you read. I would give you diagrams, charts, films, maybe have you act things out. And
I'm a bit musical, but I don't think it'll work in my line of work.
In fact, I've actually written about the evolutions of themes in a fugue, because a fugue introduces a theme and then it evolves in various ways. And if you don't stretch the analogy too far, it actually can be quite educational. But let me respond to your earlier question. I was more surprised than anybody to see the extent to which educators, first in the United States and now literally around the world, have found this idea as attractive. And of course it's flattering, but on the other hand, as we were talking earlier, people can use the ideas in all sorts of ways.
That's right.
I know that you were in Australia, and the first time I was realizing how these ideas could be misused was in 1993, over 10 years ago, where a colleague sent me a message saying, your ideas are being used in Australia and you wouldn't like the way in which they were being used. And those were in the days before emails, so I said, well, show me. And they sent me literally a stack of stuff like this. And the more I read, the more I got upset. And the smoking gun was actually where they had a list of all the different ethnic groups in Australia and which intelligence they had and which ones they lacked. And I actually went on television on a program called the Sunday Program, and I denounced the program, and I said, I denounced the multiple intelligences program. I said, this is a perversion of what I'm trying to achieve. And
is there a copyright, though? How do you protect that kind of information? You're an educator, and of course you are sharing this information to those who are interested to listen. There's no copyright?
No, sometimes I regret it because of the abuse that you indicated. But also, I have to say to the viewers, it's not like there's a curriculum. It's not like, you know, in a multiple intelligences school, here's the 15 things that you should do. It's a set of ideas which some people, like Joy, find nutritious. And then you have to actually go to the school and see, are they using it to reach more children? Are they paying attention to see whether the multiple intelligences idea helps them achieve the kind of educational goals they have? Which can both be how well does a child understand history or math, but also what kind of human being do you want? Do you want a child who's civil, who's cooperative, who is respectful of others, or are you only sort of kind of a bulldozer? You know, I just want somebody who wins in football all the time. And there are schools where that's where the goal is.
I can imagine, though, Joy, it's not the easiest theory to implement because it means a lot of training for your staff, and it means you have to have the different ways of teaching available to the children. You may have, you may have the 9 different ways of teaching children one lesson. So how much time does it take just for you to plan the lesson, and when you're teaching it, does it take a whole session, a whole week? How is it in implementation terms?
I think the very first step to be a real multiple intelligence community, it's not just being a school, is that your teachers have to really understand and value the theory. Because they're required to stretch and bend over what they're used to. Like if you're not musical and you have children in your class who really would understand the multiplication table better if it's put into a song, then you normally avoid that way of teaching because you're not comfortable. But in a school wherein you're aware that you as a teacher have the responsibility to reach out to every single child in your classroom, and you have an understanding of the differences in their profile, you try your best to extend yourself. And it's been very interesting because you discover a lot of things about yourself that you maybe didn't know you were capable of doing. And it would also require a lot of collaboration, which is very hard, because it would mean if I'm not very good at one thing, then I find a colleague who can help me make my lesson richer and give children more access to the information.
I was thinking about the question that you raised, and if I were a parent and heard about a multiple intelligences school, I think one of the things I would do is go there and talk to a number of teachers and parents, and I would say to them, what is different about this school from other schools, and how do you know that it's making a difference in how the children learn? And if they look at you like it's a silly question, I would move to another school.
All right, say those two questions again, Dr. Gardner.
I first of all say, what is different in this school from other schools? And the more the answer is kind of superficial, like, well, we sing songs every day.
We have a lot of toilets
I would
that are nice.
But also, how do you know that doing these things actually makes a difference? Because multiple intelligences isn't a formula for getting, say, higher test scores. It's a way of thinking about every child and how your knowledge of the child helps you achieve your educational goals. So if someone said to me, we used to teach fractions just in one way, and we found some kids got it very well, but others didn't. And now we have 3 or 4 ways of teaching fractions, and especially when children don't learn it the usual way, the pizza pie way, we use the Subway way, which is a way that's been used, and we find a lot more children get it. And here, let me show you how we do it. That's when I would begin to be impressed. And I understand that there are a lot of people here who call themselves MI trainers. There is no official MI training.
I was going to ask you if you have official accreditation for those who want.
But in Joy's case, for example, she not only visited and took courses with us at Harvard, but I discovered she's also visited schools in America, which I think are good schools, in Indianapolis and in St. Louis. So she has a lot of knowledge.
She's definitely an MI girl.
And so you can ask people what kind of training they have, and hopefully, if you get the same kinds of answers from a lot of people in the school, that's a sign the ideas have gotten into the DNA. But if only one person can give you answers, or if people give you contradictory answers, I would be very wary. I gather that's what's happened with Montessori here. It's become kind of a slogan, and there are not that many people who really understand the Montessori method seriously and can tell you what it can achieve that other methods can't achieve.